Wasian Iverson just completed a Fast 9 Masterclass, averaging a 2.6 AVP in his last 20 games, primarily focusing on that Fast 9 in preparation for the upcoming Dark Star Cup. My name is Boris, and today I'll be jumping in a VOD review with Wasian Iverson. And just to quickly look, he started out today's stream by placing first in 5 out of his 6 games, went a little bit rougher towards the end, but even if you looked at the games from the day before, pretty much many firsts secured by playing this Fast 9, and only once going 8th, which is sometimes a lot of players find themselves simply not able to hit. And just quickly scrolling through match history to show it. Therefore, let's see how he manages to find the econ, how he manages to find the necessary spots in order for him to go Fast 9, as a lot of players consider this to be only something you're able to consider whenever you have something like an 80 HP going into the stage 4. So what is the key to set yourself up and put yourself in these positions to be playing for the winouts? We are starting out with the upgraded 1 cost, and our out cost is a Caitlyn, something that we are not particularly excited to be playing around, as Caitlyn itself is just a little weak and she cannot item carry for the most prominent carries in the meta. Have managed to find a 2-star Poppy, which is definitely going to be quite nice. Also fighting that Milio, so could be playing around the time the Faith Weavers here. And we see he's covering the Gnar as a possibility of holding on. Since we have that Ezreal, maybe if we find an upgraded TF2, we could also be playing around it, just simply looking for any opportunity to be playing the strongest board for ourselves. Coming up on our augment selection right here. Now generally, if you wanted to be playing Fast 9, obviously you're going to need a lot of econ. Even making to level 950 gold does not guarantee you the full upgrades, therefore something like an Epoch is quite appealing right here. Mace's Will would pretty much have to transition into an IE Slam, but since we're playing around Fate Weavers, we're not particularly excited into that. We would want to also scout to see if we have a possibility to be tempoing from this spot. We do not exactly have a Bastion to pair with this Poppy either. And solo play, however, would be definitely quite strong. This is a 2-component, starts a little bit more heavier on the gold side, and if we are able to make an item right away, this is going to be very strong for ourselves. Not sold on the GA Slam here. This would we have to be pretty much if are playing into the Master Yi from there, and our spot is not looking particularly exciting for that. Frontline Foundation is something that could provide you a clear direction, but I believe that he has pretty much already established direction in his head. From this opener, we might be looking to be playing into some form of a Corki board by default. Pretty much that's what we would transition into during the current meta state where you do not have that many comps. Booster Pack is just a weaker econ augment not to consider, and he's probably going to be ripping the solo plate. Plays quite well in all of these solo frontline tanks, pretty much where you can use something like a Rammus. Something like a Tomcat can also utilize it pretty decently. Otherwise, Leona, as you know, is busted. But particularly Rammus is very strong with this, as the guy is absolutely busted and is going to get the amount of armor right there. And Poppy is also a very strong carry into the game. So we're going to be leveling heals, fielding the snipers and the meeples. Definitely have a decent board, just might be lacking a little bit on the damage front, but a lot of players, given the lack of components in the lobby, might be struggling to deal with this Poppy right away. And we are running into a 2-star Zoe here that the board simply has enough damage elasticity to break through ourselves, but still it was a very close fight. Now that we have lost, we might be considering perhaps be playing a little bit more into a Lostry kind of line, but we pick up both the Milio pair and the Meepsy pair, and this is the key how you secure yourself the potential to spike to make strong boards, is by investing this econ early on to be holding on to all these possible outs, all the possibilities how we can be playing a stronger board throughout. Now with something like a solo play Slam, right, we are quite flexible. We have not committed an AD item or an AP item just yet, therefore we are flexible in what we opt to be carrying around. And definitely, since we are probably from this kind of spot angling Corki by default, we are going to be keeping up that open sword for a potential to a GA Slam. And we'll have to see if we at any point we do consider Tempo Slam worthwhile, as Corki really wants that Death Blade for himself. We are paired on our board and find that Ezreal too, not going to just waste and move it right away to transition. We are on a lost streak, not in that much of a hurry. So I said, might be quite hard for people to break through this Poppy, but due to lack of Bastion, still there is a way for them to put together strong boards, and this is what you're going to be seeing in these high level lobbies. A lot of players investing resources early on, as we just fought a level 5 player there as well for our god selection in the Thresh and Kale game. Mini Recombo would be an interesting option, but it could troll us definitely. I think we like our direction right now. The solo plate is going to be best played into Rambus from this kind of a spot, and we do not want to give up perfect setup. However, we can utilize quite a few gloves, therefore most likely be going with a Kale here, trying to get even more items from the spot. And for the unit, we have an option for another glove, but I believe the tier could allow us to slam that protector as well. Ramos loves the protector as well, loves getting that early cast off right away. And now we find a Milio too, that is also an interesting of an option. Are we going to be investing in so much? The thing is, we are on a loss streak and our gold is quite expensive, and especially making a 2-star 2 cost from this kind of spot where you're unable to capitalize on its strength can be quite detrimental to your economy situation. We find a replication double Deathblade Hodge. This player is most likely also be angling that Corki Riven line, even though from their opener not suggesting so. Could perhaps be some form of a Darkstar line, as obviously Jin also absolutely loves those Deathblades. But we can see we are in a 4 loss, so we would probably have to guarantee ourselves a loss here as well. Otherwise, we are in a very tough econ situation. So I'm quite interested to see how does he make it out from here. Again, this is very appealing to be a fast 9 slot, but we are playing with the absolute master Wasian Iverson here. If there's one guy, that's him or Setsuko who can manage to pull off these kind of a plays, hoping to buy out the 1 cost and field just them to make sure that we lose this round. Perhaps I missed but we scouted, but there didn't seem to be that many weak players. However, we see that there is a player who was also contesting a full loss streak, therefore probably were afraid of them. Now we also find a Meepsy too, so our board definitely has extreme potential, but unfortunately has not been able to string together wins, as we just simply had been lacking in the damage this whole time. But now we are on level 5 with a Milio too. This guy can even do a lot of things without items, and we do get even a little bit more gold from here. Going to be probably most likely become a last Whisper right there. And we also opted not to slam the protector as well for a potential, I would assume, for a stronger slam. So I like the Bramble Vest here if the lobby is going to be definitely leaning AD. And Ramos absolutely also loves that Bramble Vest right there. But going to go with Protector's Vow, getting that on Meepsy is also quite nice, obviously. Since she has that stun there, can be quite valuable. This is full row stun, getting that right away. Just the issue is with the solo play, there might be some aligning issues. Now this talent has made it and absolutely assassinated our backline. But let's see, had this Meepsy finish it off, now our loss streak is going to get broken. We ideally perhaps would have preferred to be on a 6 losses. That's where you're going to be making your recon thresholds. Now we have quite a few items. We are playing in a Kale encounter, therefore misconnections immediately seems appealing. We are looking for some kind of an econ. We invested a lot in our board, and if we are going to be contested, as you can expect on this Corki line, you definitely want to be looking for econ options. Find Your Center would be something for immediate strength, and Boxing Lesson simply wouldn't synergize with our solo plate. Can be good in comps where you're obviously running multiple melee frontline units, something like the Yi board. Small grab bag, we are quite set, I believe, in items. This is if you wanted to tempo more, make more slams. Could help us spike right now if we wanted to, could maybe complete another backline item. But I believe that we are simply looking for an econ option right now, and Wasian Iverson seems to agree. Simply going to be pretty much selling off the rest. I did not think he doesn't seem to be memorized and does not seem to be too interested in keeping any of the units. Holding on to this Caitlyn now perhaps could have held on to the Aatrox as well for 2 Bastion. But we believe that this is solo plate right here and the open chain are going to be enough of resistances in some form of a way that they're simply going to be lacking damage front. Therefore, this Tomb Timebreaker attack speed is going to be quite prominent for ourselves, especially if we have our items on the Gnar that loves attack speed that we do not have any for him at the moment. Now we saw there's another IE and that was a last Whisper player. Could have perhaps slammed that IE to play into Corki, but that's a sacrificial glove. And we also opted to make an interesting play here. We opted to level to 7. Now we are making 30. This is fine. I ideally would have wanted another gold. Therefore, if we win this round, it's great. If we don't, we might be in a little bit of a tough spot. And we'll have to see. The good thing that we have going for ourselves, we have upgraded these lower cost units that you obviously want to have upgraded on your even level 8 board. Everyone's paying the focus on the Corki and Riven, but having these weaker units upgraded, especially something like Poppy that can provide armor and magic resistance for your frontliners, is quite valuable. For our next god selection, I would believe that we are simply looking for some kind of an econ option. Therefore, Thresh's Boon, even though it's 1 gold difference, can make a lot and has potential to sit some of those econ outs. Divine Refund is not something that I would be too exciting about now. If we completed the Dead Blade specifically, that could be quite decent. We would get another sword, but we would be gambling, and since we're trying to push tempo, we're not guaranteed on the component anvil right away. We have an item augment, we aligned ourselves with the Kale at the start, we're a little bit one pick. I think we are quite set on items at the moment, therefore Thresh's Boon seems quite appealing to further rebound our econ situation, especially after that aggressive level. And he seems to agree to going so. Now, are we going to be picking up a bow or a belt? The belt could sort our anti-heal for ourselves. Bow would have to transition into a GS if we went for a slam, and we get... Was that the cryogenic hex? Let's just quickly recheck. That is the cryogenic hex, and that is absolutely massive, especially for us right away already as well. Since we are running the solo frontline that's going to absolutely love it, we're able to slam that Soundfire sword, that utility out, and we're going to opting to keep that sword open for the Dead Blade. You can see how much he's indexing on wanting to secure that Dead Blade for his Corki from this kind of a spot. There we see an MF tempo, that's also, the lobby is very AD heavy leaning, therefore even having the open chain throughout here was probably the right move as a potential for the Bramble Vest. Now, unfortunately, we do take a very narrow loss to this player here, so our streak is broken again, and this is definitely a very tight spot to be navigating. Now, we are on good health if we were playing just a fast 8 board. The issue is we're level 7, and are we... I think we are making just 15 now. Still, we do not have another recon augment. Yeah, we are, and we are dead 50. This is going to be tough, especially as we can see the lobby does seem to be leading into that Corki direction. We're going to have a tough time finding our units and stabilizing. This is one of the spots I myself sometimes just simply find bleeding out to not that much. Now, the good part is that we have these time breakers farming a little bit of an econ for ourselves, have farmed a free reroll, have farmed a little bit of an XP. Find a Jhin. Is that though? I would imagine him to be stronger than the perhaps simply the Timebreaker. Ezreal here able to slap that last Whisper on him. He should be a stronger of a carry, and we do want to have that 3 meeple in for our Meepsy definitely, and the Gnar is going to synergize in the sniper form of away. I believe we are going to be making the Pantheon, so we're going to make another single gold investment into this to make our board stronger, able to nicely transition these items off, find a IE and a find the IE and the last Whisper, not holding off to our slams to see if we can make that blade. Unfortunately, did not come immediately. And we have indexed again into heavily investing into this board, so perhaps from this, we are holding on to these Darkstar units. He's considering a potential to go into some kind of a Darkstar line. Now that would be quite hard to execute from this kind of spot, since again, we would need a Cho'Gath, we would need a Lysandra, and finding those on 8 is no easy task sometimes. For our next augment selection here, he's putting in some kind of a Darkstar flex board, since we found but keeping both options open. Now this is something also very hard to pull off, especially in such divergent lines for ourselves. Now here comes the BF sword that we definitely would have wanted if we played for that Corki. Sometimes playing for that single tempo play is worth it, it preserves you alive, but now with an IE it's kinda hard to justify going into Corki. But nonetheless, we are lacking the 3rd damage item, therefore Cybernetic Implant still is quite appealing on an option. Better than Charge Transfer. We're not playing the Gragas Hero Augment or something that can absolutely nuke. Plot Armor, we have the solo frontline, so this is going to lose a little bit of its value. Not that strong of an option for ourselves. Ideally, if we are able to pick up from damage items, it's going to be quite good. Clockwork Accelerator, great in these stall comps, but not that many in the meta, and the combat pacing is about average at the moment. You're not seeing that much value out of it unless you have absolutely maximum stall. Something like Essential probably would be more appealing. Side effects, alright if your tanks are able to heal. The Corki has, the Ramos itself is a shield tank, so it's not going to be that good for ourselves. So simply we're going to be going with Cybernetic Implants. We do level to 8 here, but we are opting to seems not to roll, as we see there's a lot of players who were indexing in these lane lanes. See Yi2 coming in. Some players holding off from roll timings, perhaps evaluating that they're quite strong. Now this is also the late game scaling kind of a board, and seems that they might have been considering, yeah, they're sacking and have picked up, well, not the greatest of econ, but Heroic Grab Bag is an econ nonetheless, to try to play for Fast 9. Perhaps they're going to be sending it on 4-5, so it seems a lot of players are indexing into this Fast 9 line. And yeah, the choice we have made here is simply we're not going to level. We found this Rast. Now Rast 2, obviously the best Rast becomes when you are able to slot in at least 6 trades. But even then, the unit is absolutely busted in the buff he provides. Simply a gold augment already at about 5 tier breakpoint is immense if you're able to have a slot for him. Into another, yeah, this is a Darkstar player, has found the Earth, playing around that Riven variant right there. And we are just going to be taking a loss, so we are going to be sacrificing probably 2 more fights and still going to be a little bit lower on the econ situation. Now, the Rod we do not have exact use for right away, and I have a hard time imagining what it could become. The Gunblade is not particularly strong of an item for this Jhin, so probably, again, aligning ourselves with Thresh, hoping that we can find some form of an econ out from here. Unfortunately, did not see the Thresh's chest that have the potential to give econ. And quickly to touch up here, doing simply a VOD review right now, again, as well, since I believe I've made the cheat sheets for most of these comps that are prominent in the meta. One that I have not is the Fast 9, but I hope to be working on it over the weekend, as there are quite a few variants you can be playing around, and it does require quite a... it takes quite a bit of time to make all the variants, make sure that they stick together, and have all the latest info available for you. Now playing into this, we then take a loss, and this seems to be fully dead set to be playing for some kind of a Jhin Fast 9 board, something that you do not see that much around these days, and we're able to also pick up an early Graves, which is amazing for ourselves, going to be going into that assault frame. But even for Fast 9, the thing is that we are currently a little bit lacking in the item department, since you definitely want to be having itemize all these 5 costs, right? The 2-star 5 cost Naked is not going to be doing that much. Blitz has some value in itself, but for example, 2-star Naked Graves is not going to be doing that much. Another Fast 8 player that has hit the ASOL, absolutely clearing us with a double JG build reminiscent of the Chinese builds. Now, one of the Fast 9 players dropped out, which is a great sign for ourselves, as that's going to leave the contest from ourselves. Find a first double gold option, even though it comes with a component. We just simply wanted gold, found it, able to go for the Xayah here as it's our another sniper unit. So this is going to be interesting to see how he managed to switch the board. Gives up on the Xayah, find a Jhin to immediately, find a single star Rammus. So this is a very non-traditional, but we saw that there were, I believe there were quite a few Corki Rammus players, so how are we going to be finding this Rammus too? Able to find a Rammus pair, but might be a little tough. Going to value him as a stronger tank than that Meepsy, and simply tossing our Sunfire on Rast, as that's our other upgraded tank. And hopefully with Jhin 2 we're able to pick up some rounds here. We are quite low, and we have that Thresh scaling coming in. Hope to find a little bit of gold from him. I believe we're playing Bard. No, we are not just playing Bard just yet. And for our option, we went with the one that didn't cost gold, so that's going to indicate to me that we are wanting gold. Now we get that Bard in, which is another potential way of farming a little bit of extra gold through stealing these units. But this is going to be a tougher board. Now the good part is that our Rammus is busted, and we have double Stolo played for him, so it's going to be against the buff ones, but he's going to be quite durable, and hopefully that is enough for this Jhin to burst through, able to farm a 1-cost Leona. Well, 1 gold is more than nothing, I suppose. Still, I was interested to see what was he considering around this variant of the Xayah. Find the Graves. Now, hopefully we're able to find some items for him that are useful. Going with this also, this interesting cornering positioning, simply wanting to buff up our potential damage dealers and get this Rammus surrounded. Now we queue into a Corki player with that IE, and you can see they're on low lives, even though they have pretty much hit their whole board. The Corki is simply not having that much damage, and it still takes extreme while for get to our through Rammus 2. Our Jhin gets to his second cast and is able to clear up the board, and we have already secured ourselves a top 4, and we are one of the 2 Thresh players in the lobby, so we definitely have a potential for scaling. Further investing our Graves, picking up the Giant Slayer there as a damage item option. Did not want to gamble on the Forge, and we're definitely now going to be rolling as we are able to pick up that Rammus 2 potential. Trying to see, perhaps he was hovering the Rast here for this fight. Now the thing with Yi is that whenever he casts and heals off his current target, this is the reason why you see the Yi pathing quite weird, is just simply going to here to illustrate real quick. If he was under his cast here and managed to kill off this Rast, by the way the game is coded, he would assume this Rast still to be alive. Now thankfully we have another tank right in front of him that could grab the aggro with the form of Shen, but assuming that this was blocked, he would have assumed that the Gnar here is the closest target and simply wrap your backline. So the thing is, you have to play some mind games of positioning, since during his cast, if he kills his current target, he assumes them to be alive. But did not happen, thankfully, to us ourselves, and we had the enough damage again, and the stall from this Rammus, an absolute monster, able to clear enough for Jhin. But it's also very impressive to see just how much Jhin 2, with good items, we don't have a Deadblade exactly for him, which would be one of the greatest items for him, but still is able to perform extremely well. And now we're starting to invest more into this Graves, so that's going to be an amazing potential carry as we're able to get another item on him in the next round, and hopefully Thresh is able to print us a component to complete with this bow. Going up against a more standard fast 9 AP kind of board, but still able to take them out. Now they do not have exactly the strongest itemization on their front, or maybe that was our Ghost. Yeah, I think that was our Ghost, so it's a very good sign if they're losing to our Ghost. And them dying off would allow us to funnel more bards into our pool. And with the GS, we are semi-open to be playing for it. But since we have invested so much in this grave, it's going to be quite valuable. Now, we do get a Void Staff item as an item. Here, we unfortunately do not hit anything we particularly wanted. We'll have to suffice with the Rage Blade in this front. Still not pulling the trigger. Now we fight against the dragon. I'm not sure why this dragon is that big. That's not a 2-star dragon, so you do not have to be worrying that much. Nonetheless, this dragon can do a lot against the Ghost of this fast and AP board. Seeing how they lost to our Ghost, I would assume this is going to be easy pickings. Yes, their frontline is simple and able to hold, and we're able to clear up for ourselves. Have the potential to be pushing 9. We do not. What would be our next in? I'm also a little unsure. Just checking his trade tree, but has to see. But still managing his econ here, not pulling the trigger as we're seeing that this Bard upgrade is not going to be too valuable. This Blitz upgrade is not going to be super valuable either. We are simply saying we have a higher potential to further buff up this Jhin through perhaps another sniper. Now we do lose to the fast 9 board. Another fast 9 AP kind of a board, and now this is going to be a little close for ourselves. Do get another, believe that was HP roll. Now we are a little bit rolling. Now we are considering, now we also have potential for the Shen, able to pick up Shen 2, have to roll quite deep, so we're just further investing here. Did not see exactly anything that immediately that would allow us to push 9, so perhaps does not value the snipers that much. Wanted to hold off, or perhaps one of the players also dying in order to release some of the units in this pool. I believe that might have been the actual play. The Blitz, the Shen, the Bard were all contested, so I assume we wanted to pool our gold. Find that Deathblade now, so I'd assume that's going to go there. Find that Blitz do immediately as one of the players dies. We put the Deathblade onto the Graves, so perhaps he has that read that in the assault frame. No. If you think about it, what this Graves might be lacking right now, right? We have attack speed, we have some damage jump, we are racking pure AD onto this Graves right now. Therefore, read here that this Deadblade is fine, and the IE is obviously the must-have for the Jhin, is going to apply the Last Whisper the best. Greatly read, and I believe he split his item simply to move the Cybernetic Implant value a little bit out. Whoever holds the Sunfire is completely fine for ourselves. And let's go into this last fight against the Master Yi Fiora board. Has that Kahuna augment onto their side, so they're going to be quite strong. The Fiora is able to burst through our Rammus, and yeah, this is sometimes the tricky bit with the solo frontline Rammus, that if they have that much burst potential, they're simply able to get through him. Even though with the Kahuna Rammus nicely synergizes in the ability that he does reduce flat damage by flat amount. But we do not have that much burst damage as they have right there. They also have full, well, this is pseudo econ and components, quite strong items all around. Have the Graves too on their side. Do not know how long that has been scaling for. So they definitely have immense amount of power on their board, and we have that Rage Blade that's not going to provide that much, but still an extremely close fight. And another masterclass by Wasian Iverson right there. Recognizing the potential, how he can arrive to this board, playing off the high roll of a Jhin, saying, okay, if I finesse here, if I I believe he won the 4-1, we are able to get to fast 9, invest into our item treasury, into econ, upgrade our Jhin 2, and the Jhin 2 has been surprisingly stable without even more than 2 Darkstar. Put together a board, able to pick up rounds, let the other contesters eliminate each other. And then we find the frontline in form of a Rammus, which nicely synergizes with the cryogenic hex that we got from the Thresh and our solo plate value, and cap our board from there, and just losing out to an absolute giga setup. I would like to thank you for watching. All the cheat sheets I have made about the comps in the current meta are available in the links down below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.